Something I'm asked more than anything by marketers is, what are the best strategies I could use in 2025 to get leads? And I get it, there is so much noise right now. Everyone's chasing AI trends, the latest tools and techniques, and all the shiny new things. And it's always been the same, even since I started in marketing, but that was all the way back in 2009, and there was a lot less to choose from. Cut to today, the change is so much more fast-paced, and I can understand why I'd end up in an absolute tailspin. And there's so many new ideas, not just from colleagues, but also from videos with the same title as the one you're watching right now, telling you what you should and shouldn't be focused on. But if you're a marketer in the real world, sitting in a business that just does not get marketing, none of that is going to help you unless you actually understand strategy. And actually, this is really good news because this means that you can stop worrying about all of the fads and trends. It actually means you can breathe out and learn the fundamentals. And with that, you'll get the answer to your question about which marketing strategy is best for your business. Today, I'm going to walk you through some examples of marketing strategies and how you can figure out which ones are the best ones to choose for your business and its situation. I can't give you the answer. You're going to uncover that yourself. But if you're anything like me, you don't like being told what to do, so this is going to come as good news as well. If you're new here, I'm Jade. I've worked in B2B for almost 20 years, both in-house and as a consultant. And now I help marketers who feel really stuck, sidelined, and who are constantly reacting to endless requests from everyone in their business. I help them get clarity, build a proper strategy, and finally get respected by leaders. I built my signature course, B2B Breakthrough Academy, to help with exactly that. And I'm currently working on some very exciting new product launches, so keep your eyes open for that. Over the next few weeks, I will be announcing more. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel because it would be so lovely to have you. So here's what I would be doing if I needed to pick out the best marketing strategies for any given business in 2025. First, step back a sec, figure out what actually needs to be done as a business and stop being so stuck in the weeds of what should we do. If you're asking questions like, what is the best strategy for my company, without really diving into what's going on there first, then you're definitely going down the rabbit hole of being obsessed with tactics as opposed to figuring out what really needs to be done. We need to start by reviewing what's actually going on in the business. And this is one of the first things I teach inside my programs, is how to get to the bottom of what the company needs to achieve, as opposed to just sitting as a marketing team completely alone without any context of what's going on in the company. So where does the business need to get to? And what are the things standing in their way? Why are they not already there? What are the big things that they need to focus on to move forward as a company? What are the sales goals, and what areas of the business need to be worked on to help them grow into what they need to become? You also are going to need to keep it simple and not take on too many things. I imagine that if you write down a bit of a list of everything you're working on, all the different strategies and techniques and tactics, I think that's going to be a fairly long list. So that's a really good exercise for you to do basically right now, is list out all the things you've tried, all the things you've done, all the things you are doing, and look at that list honestly. Is that 2 or 3 things? I bet it isn't. And yet we're always going to have to keep on top of the kind of basics, the day-to-day running of your department. But in terms of taking on marketing strategies to help the business with its goals, we need to keep that to a minimum. And it is so important to start with what you already have. You know, you may have hundreds of businesses that your company has quoted for in the last few years, but they're just not doing anything to really engage them and really get them interested in what you're doing. Maybe they picked another partner in the past and they haven't had much success with them. Well, has your business been in regular communication, not just to try and get a meeting with them to sell, but to nurture them through that journey? For example, if someone has taken another course and they haven't taken mine, and afterwards they've come back to me and said, oh, I still need to do yours because there were some gaps, it wasn't exactly what I needed. Maybe that's because while they were taking their course, they were still in my email sequences, getting nurtured and supported around, here's why you're still struggling if you're still failing to feel strategic. So what can we do to get these people engaged even while they're not working with us? Because sales will only ever really chase leads and hot things and try to get a meeting. Hi, would you like to have a meeting? Hi, would you like to talk about your service? It's our job to figure out, okay, who do we already have and how can we really nurture them to want to work with us? Anybody who tells you that they know what the best marketing strategies are for 2025, they can't be right, because no one business is the same. Everyone's got different challenges. So I'm going to share 3 examples here of the different types of company and the situation they might be facing, and then which marketing strategies they might want to explore, because then you can figure out, what camp you're in. If there's a company who is losing customers and their retention rate is reducing because there's a cheaper competitor who's taking all their work. Maybe they need to focus more on understanding why the people they're selling to see price as the only indicator. There has to be a reason why these competitors are able to operate cheaper. Figuring out, is that because our business isn't set up properly, or is it because we actually add more? Now, usually what I find when I consulted businesses that are in price sensitive markets is that they are adding a lot of value and people are buying only on price, and there are gaps with that. So for this particular challenge, I would really recommend a brand positioning piece and trying to change people's perception of the brand, figuring out how can we tap into the gaps that they will get as a result of going with a cheaper option and make them aware of the risks associated with that. In this type of instance, you could actually position the alternatives as dangerous. You can show how them making that wrong choice is going to be a problem later down the line if that's something that your business authentically believes, because I'm not about unethical manipulative marketing. And that would be your strategy. That's your strategic approach. We need to reposition how our customers see us and show them that that value is justifiable, that price is justifiable because X, Y, Z, and almost train them into understanding that by going with a cheaper alternative, this is the impact. Customers' social proof is going to be really important for that, so that you can gather from people the results they've had that maybe they wouldn't experience if they went with a cheaper alternative. Honestly though, if you uncover as a marketer that actually the competitors who are cheaper are just the same, then you might need to have difficult conversations with leaders to say, well, we need to figure out, why is that? Because is the business set up wrong? Like, is this something that we need to do in terms of cost cutting? What can we do? And that's not your job to fix, but it's your job to help identify, because as marketers, we need to be ethical. We don't want to go out there telling lies, but, we can package the truth in, exciting ways that get people to really see it. Okay, so another really common scenario might be that you've got an amazing product or service, but no one's ever heard of it. So it's that kind of best kept secret issue where people haven't heard of you, but that you like, if they work with you, you'd be amazing. What can we do to build awareness? It's a classic awareness building exercise. Maybe this company, when it comes further down the line, they've got no trouble closing them. For example, a new person that I'm working with, she's setting up her own business. Once people are in front of her, they're like, 100% need to work with you. But she's currently in the phase where she has to build her audience because no one really knows what she's doing yet. So as far as being put in front of people who are leads, great, she can close them. But if no one's heard of her, how is she going to close them? So it is really the traditional awareness building thing. So it could be, we need to build awareness of our audience through a targeted online content first strategy. So maybe you're going to put ad spend. Maybe you will put ad spend behind that later on in a tactical approach, but you've agreed, okay, we're going to go content first. We're going to get this really clever person in our business to start talking about the problems our customers are facing, and we're going to package it really nicely. And then once people are in our email list, we're going to keep going with that, keep nurturing them with really solid content. And then we'll start to play around with ads, with SEO, with PPC, things like that later on. But first, we just need to get some good content out there, and we're going to figure out how to do that with our subject matter expert. But there's so many different ways that you can tackle that issue. And that's where, once you know your strategic challenge, that's when you can then research what are the best lead gen techniques. So maybe LinkedIn would be better than something else. So try to get your strategic challenge nailed before you dive into what actual tactics are we going to do to help us overcome this within the plan. And then the other one is, maybe your company has a ton of small customers, but they're not very profitable. And your business is now larger than it used to be, and people aren't really aware of that in your market. Maybe there's a set of bigger companies who you want to work with, but they're trusting the big national players. And the feedback that you've gotten is, well, you guys aren't big enough for us. So this also would be a repositioning issue in a different way. We've got to find out, well, how can we expose the challenges that this segment of people are facing? So like off the top of my head, if you've got a medium to large company and they're dealing with the big players in that industry, maybe they're just a kind of a number and they're not a key account to those larger, huge global competitors of yours. You could go with a low-hanging fruit strategy where you're going to try and grab those by saying, look, we're big enough to handle you, but small enough to care. And then you can position with loads of social proof about why being more than just a number is so important if you want a great service. Obviously, these are off the top of my head, but that gives you that strategic place to come from to then think, what is the best way to tactically execute on that approach? Okay, and since I did like lure you in here with the promise of my favorite marketing strategies, I do just want to talk about the foundation strategies. And this is a huge thing when it comes to my signature program, B2B Breakthrough Academy. We've got a whole section within a module on foundation strategies because people forget them so often. So if you have got a checklist, it would be so cool if you could tick things off and check with yourself, like, do I have these? You can even, if you want to, download my freebie, which I've linked in the show notes, which is the 6-step marketing strategy. And it's got like a video training and a guide, and you can go through it in detail to figure out, like, have you covered off everything that would be inside my program? Like, would it be beneficial for you to join? Or even just to have a check-in with yourself on what level you are as a strategic marketer. So I'll link that in the show notes, so that you can download that yourself. So the first foundation strategy that we need to make sure is covered off is, have we positioned the brand correctly? I cannot count the amount of marketing managers and head of marketing and marketing directors I've consulted where they told me that they did the positioning themselves in-house. I always immediately know that this was a terrible idea, and I'm sorry to the 1-2%, maybe even less than, of people who really are super good at this and have done it tons of times. Maybe they came from an agency and they've done it in their past life. Generally speaking, you should not be positioning the business on your own because there will be gaps, and it is a whole process. Brand positioning is something I'm so passionate about, and I've worked on dozens of projects with a partner agency that I work with. It's so important, and it should answer the following. Like, when you land on your homepage, have a little look now. Could your competitor have reasonably put the same content out as you on your homepage? Like, if you just swapped out the name, would it work? Because that's where you have a brand positioning issue. So if your landing page is very unique to you, so for example, there's a really big problem in this thing, and here is what people really struggle with. And if you've been feeling like this is happening, it's been really difficult for you, maybe you've tried this and maybe you've tried that, but we're here to help because we don't do it that way, we do it this way. And here's loads of proof, and here's some more 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 proof around our entire website. That is solid brand positioning, and it has to be in line with what the audience cares about. And honestly, it actually gives me palpitations how many people pay design companies to design their website, and then they just get that website company to just come up with their positioning, which is basically just, they did an internal workshop, asked them, well, what does your brand stand for? Which just doesn't mean anything. Didn't speak to any customers, didn't ask the right questions even if they did, and then just came up with something like, we are experts in, and then just reeled off a bunch of like hygiene factors. You can see how passionate I am about this, like it drives me nuts. So position the brand properly. That's the first one. We also then need creative and execution rollout. So, okay, how is that brand narrative that you've come up with, that positioning that an external expert has come up with, how are you going to roll that out across your entire suite? So your suite is everything throughout the whole buyer journey, from where they find you on social channels, where they land on your website, every page within your website, once they have a meeting with you, like the presentation deck, the follow-up materials, the emails that go out, the nurture sequences. I know this sounds like a lot, but this stuff has to be sorted out before we get fancy. And if you can get the basics right, make it creatively engaging. And again, that has to be born from true creative ad experts who have got experience in this area, not just your local design company who are good at graphics. The problem here is that they make things look good, but when you see there's no substance behind it, it's not good. It just looks good, which is so important, and it's better than nothing. But what you need is true brand strategists to bring to life the message, because it's not just how it looks. That's why you always see people like, oh, look at our new website, isn't it beautiful? It's like, you've just reskinned it. It's just the same content. You're not doing anything and no one cares. Like, great, it doesn't look dated. There is a role for that, but the positioning is so important. So the creative process that happens after positioning should bring your message to life in a really good way. Then I've got on here data and segmentation. So just check in, like, is your data tidy and sorted out? It is unacceptable in 2025 for anyone in your company to tell you, we don't need a CRM system, we don't need to update it. Like, are you kidding me? If you sell your business in that shape, you're in trouble. People are still operating in 2025 with salespeople having Excel spreadsheets and their own little system for managing their own clients and nothing central. Is honestly mental. And the fact that marketers have to actually argue about this to try and justify having order is crazy. The amount of money your company is losing, and I recommend watching my video on the cost of inaction to help you fight this case. The amount of money that's been lost by this is unbelievable. And it's all down to salespeople going, my leads, my customers. It's like utter nonsense. They're not yours. You facilitate closing them, but they're not yours. This is really dangerous for CEOs as well. If salespeople have got this mentality, that's quite dangerous for the CEO, because if they leave, they're taking them with them and there's no record of it in your business. So we need to get our data sorted out and segmented well so that we know what stage people are at. We need salespeople updating the software. And again, inside B2B Breakthrough Academy, this is such a big focus, because the way you overcome this is mindset stuff. I know that sounds crazy, but how do you as a marketer stop being the yes team and stop being walked over and actually step up and go, we're not operating this way anymore. This doesn't work. That's really hard, and that's mindset stuff. So once you've got your data sorted, you then need to look at your email sequences and what you're actually doing with that data to try and get more meetings for sales. Because in an ideal world, sales are just closing. So the more that you can do in marketing to nurture, the better. So step back and look at what is your email system like. Are you just sending out like email newsletters when you get round to it? Email is one of the most underutilized things that we have. It's like direct communication with people who can buy from you. When you remember that, you realize this is such a huge strategy, and you may not even need to do anything new. You may just need to tidy up what you already have. And also, if you're going to do lead gen to get more people in, but things are not sorted out with what happens once they're in your system, like what's the point anyway? So I've got here as number 8, maybe it's number 8, is it number 6? Really good customer proof. So you need to create that bank of reviews. You need good social evidence. So get a bank. Like even for me, for my business, that's something I have to focus on this year, because so many people have given me like unbelievable reviews of my programs, and I'm like crying reading them, and I'm like, why am I not sharing this with people so they'll know how it'll change their life? Like, I have to do this. So once you've got all those sorted, that's when you want to be looking at, okay, what tactics and techniques can we manage? What is going to bring us new opportunities, new stuff, because it's much more expensive to bring in new things than it is to nurture what's already there. Okay, so I hope you found that useful. Please let me know in comments, what is your favorite marketing technique for 2025? Did I miss any? And make sure you subscribe to my channel for my regular updates, and also like this video if you liked it, because it makes me happy. I will catch you next time. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel too, so you get little alerts every time I post. Thank you. See you soon. Bye.